Hello everybody and welcome back to the Sherrill Technology Channel. In this video, if you are new here, like, comment, subscribe if you so desire. If you do not, that's fine too. It's all free for you. Let's get right into this one. In this one, we are going to be looking at cellular networks. Now, I am not going to go into deep detail. I understand a lot of it and I know a lot of it, but I'm not going to go into detail per se for sake of confusing everybody. I am going to go over a brief overview so that you understand when your phone is doing this or it's doing that, you'll kind of have an idea of why it's doing what it's doing. This is a carryover from my last video about fiber networks. So in this video, cellular networks are what we're going to look at. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's get right into it. Bear down, get your pencil ready, and let's go. Now, what is a cellular network? It's a network distributed over large areas of land or land areas called cells. So cellular network, each served by at least one fixed location transceiver known as a cell site or base station. Now, have you ever seen the little towers in Colorado on the way to Greeley? There is a bunch of towers on top of a hill. There's 4 of them, I believe, and they're all together. Those are cells. Now, so here's another idea here. So there's a type of cell called a microcell from cellular providers. Now, let's say that in your area, you don't have a cell or a cell tower, right? You don't have one. What they will do is they will say, okay, we have what's called a microcell that will mimic or replicate our cellular network across Ethernet. So you connect it into your network, right? You connect it into your home network, your LAN network, and it will provide a microcell, right? Okay, y'all with me? Okay, let's go. Let's get with it. A cellular network, each cell uses a different set of frequency from neighboring cells to avoid interference and to provide guaranteed bandwidth within each cell. Now, I'm going to stop right there because I want to go over something real quick. Now, this is the same principle that you see in Wi-Fi networks. For instance, if you open up, I'll tell you what, go to your settings on your phone right now, go to the Wi-Fi, and look at how many networks show up, how many wireless networks show up on your phone. Just look, I'll give you a second. There's a bunch of them, isn't there? The reason being is because this is what this is talking about. This part right here, a different set of frequencies. What's supposed to happen is there is a range of frequencies over whatever the cellular frequency range is. The wireless range is the same way. There's a specific set of frequencies since they both operate on radio frequencies. That's a certain range, right? That is used for this. Cellular networks are different because they have to be a lower network. Now we're going to get into 5G a little bit too, but mostly right now we're going to stick with what we know. Now, there is 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G now. Does anybody out there know what that means? If you don't, I'm going to explain it right now. 2G is 2 gigahertz. 3G is 3 gigahertz. 4G is 4 gigahertz. 5G is 5 gigahertz. Now, what you need to understand, the higher the frequency, the less distance it goes. Think of a car audio system. You hear the bass before you hear anything else. Same principle. Same exact principle. In a cellular network, the 2G would carry much, much farther, but there's not as much speed. That's how that works. That's exactly the principles that govern these technologies. Now, within these cells or cellular towers, so you have a bunch of different towers that make up an area. So like whenever you hear in like a lot of murder type mysteries and stuff, we'll say, hey, we're going to triangulate the position of this tower based on the strength of the signal of the phone at the time of what the cell towers, they can kind of get an idea of where the phone was at that specific time. That's what they're talking about, right? They can calculate it based on how strong the signal is. Now, this stuff is just so freaking cool, everybody. It is so awesome. I love this stuff. My dad was an expert at this stuff. He was an expert. May he rest in peace. Now, some of the drawbacks of a cellular network are, one, it is a half duplex network. It can send or receive at one time, but it can't do both. That is a huge drawback. If they can ever fix that, cellular networks will become the new standard because they will be so much faster. The latency If you think about this, now think carefully. You have latency, right? When you are sending data, you go out into your front yard and you yell. You're trying to find one person, right? One person. You yell out into your front yard. You yell and it goes to everybody. And then you have to wait for that one person to yell back once they hear it. Cellular networks are exactly the same way, and so are wireless networks. It is a communication of only one direction at a time. You cannot scream. If you holler and they holler back before they hear it, guess what's going to happen? Everybody's going to get confused. Cellular networks are the same way. But there are methods they use to stop collisions and stuff, but I won't get into that. Now, in this video, I really wanted to go into this to show you kind of how this works, because I really think it's important when you say my phone data is so slow. It depends on how far away you are from the tower and what frequency you're at too. Those two things can determine a lot. For instance, I have AT&T. So what we're going to do is we're going to look up mine. There we go. Let's look at this. Here we go. Of course, y'all are going to be able to see it. Now, I really don't care. So here I have 4G LTE coverage. Now, if you look, it's showing that we have 5G. Trust me, it does not do 5G where we're at. Now, my phone keeps going into 5, and I think I see why. I mean, it's showing that it does, but I have yet to see it do that. So coverage isn't guaranteed, right? They will always tell you that. It's not guaranteed. It's like you can't promise it if it's not guaranteed. So basically what happens is 4G, depending on where the tower is, if it's a couple miles away, guess what? That cell signal, your discovery on your phone has to go 2 miles out, hit the tower, and then it comes all the way back. Think about that. That's why your cell is so slow. That's why. Now, here in town where I live, in Colorado, they have, in the town I live in, they have a basic 4G tower, but it's like 2 miles away, 2 or 3. It's something crazy like that. And that's why our cell is so slow here. But when we get into Denver, it gets a lot better. Does it get really, really good? It's all right. We get about 40 meg up and down here. So that's not too bad. But when you're watching a video, you don't perceive the speed. Just because you run a speed test doesn't mean that you're going to get the speed in terms of it translating from a cell signal, because one is a cell signal, one is an application. You're translating the cell signal into the application. That's a lot different. That's a whole different ballgame. For instance, when we try to watch any kind of show on our phones, right? On YouTube, whether it be The Big Bang Theory, on HBO Max, anything like that. What I have noticed on AT&T, now they are not endorsed by me because I'm going to go to T-Mobile. Sorry, AT&T, that's what's going to happen. T-Mobile has a really good cellular network across this country, as long as they don't sell your data or let people steal it. sorry, T-Mobile. But they do have a really good network. Their network is incredible. The reason that we have, so one of the things I've noticed is when we try to stream something, whether it be YouTube, whether it be HBO Max, I've noticed that the voice and the video don't match up. It's not arriving at the same time. Now this is where I could get in. I'm going to go into this just a little bit. You have UDP and TCP. TCP has an error correction and checking mechanism. UDP does not. UDP is user datagram protocol. TCP is transmission control protocol. Now, the difference between the two is that user datagram sends the data as quickly as possible, as fast as possible. It doesn't care if everything gets there. It doesn't care. Now, if they would do this, the networks would be a lot more reliable, but it would be a lot more overhead. A lot more. Like a lot more. So that's why they do the things that they do. In this kind of thing, I mean, it consumes a lot less power because you're covering a larger area. But when you only have one tower next to you, it works by using a cell of towers together. We only have one. That is probably why we have so much trouble here. If we had a cell network, or a cell of towers around us, we would probably have a lot better coverage, because then it could use each one to do certain things. In our case, we don't have that. Y'all, this is so cool. This stuff is incredibly cool. But now you know what a cellular network is. You know why sometimes you have issues with your speed. It's the latency. I'm telling you, the amount of time it takes to go from your phone to there to back. Now remember, it's setting up the connection, and it's going there and coming back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And if it's not doing it fast enough, you'll see speed issues. That's what happens. So now you know. If you have a tree in the way, that's going to affect your connectivity. If you have a house in your way, that's going to affect your connectivity. I'm in the basement of my house right now. My cellular network has looks like 2 or 3 bars in my basement, which is not actually half bad. So there you go. So everybody, I want you to, I really hope you learned something from this video, because that is the point of my channel, is to teach you things about technology. I want you to understand how these things work, so that when you start having issues, you can say, oh yeah, I know what that is. That's the whole point of my channel. I love each and every one of you. And until my next video, may the Lord of peace walk with each and every one of you, and may he bless every step that you take. I really hope that for each and every one of you. I hope that if you don't know him personally, you would give your life to him now. Believe me, you will not regret it. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. And this has been Chris with the Cheryl Technology Channel. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Till the next video. Peace.